Hey up YouTube, we're back down in shed again. Excuse us if you can hear the background noise, the kettle's just about to come up to the boil. So, quick intro today. I say that every bloody time, don't I? We're going to pick the Brussels sprouts for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to get the bed ready for Broadbeans, which will be the first thing to plant out. Maybe February, March time, but we're going to plant them today as well, so that's going to be in this video. So Broadbeans coming out, the Brussels sprouts are coming out, and the Broadbean bed is that bed. So we're going to take them out, prep it, go home, plant some Broadbeans. Charlie's enjoying some noodles, Rose is about to eat hers. Pot Noodle didn't sponsor us. Boo. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. I mean, it's Christmas time, there's not a great deal to do. We didn't plant any parsnips because these two don't, well, this one likes them, this one doesn't. But we're going to plant some next year, so anyway. No Christmas potato reveal because they ended up with blight. So yeah, that's all we're going to do today. It's going to be a short video. I'm going to ask, as much as I hate doing this, I'm going to ask, please subscribe if you enjoy the videos. I know we've not done much down on the allotment for a little while, but if you enjoy the videos, please subscribe. I've been looking at sort of the analytics, and we're still hitting 70% of the views on all the videos are from non-subscribed source, so please subscribe. I mean, it'd be great if I could get anywhere close to 500 to start the new year with. I don't think that'll happen, I'm 70 something off it. But it really would make my year if that was at all doable. So please subscribe, please like the video. The bite size series, I'm going to take the week off because this bite size is going to fall on Christmas Day, so that's not going to come. But please comment in the comments below this video if there's something in particular you'd like me to cover in bite size. Because what I'm going to do, I think with the wind and things, I'm going to voice over this video with jobs to do and things like that heading into January, so I won't have that to cover. So if there's something you'd like me to cover in a bite size, please comment in the video below. Please like the video, please subscribe, it means a lot to all of us.
And maybe share the video.
Yeah, that'd be handy. Share the video. Kettle's coming up to boil, so we're going to have us lunch and we're going to get out there on the allotment. We'll see you in a bit.
Bye-bye.
Noodle face. Hey up YouTube, so, oh hello Sash, she picked a moment, doesn't she? Right, so, what I'm trying to do today is something a little different. So, I've got a bit of footage on screen, I've already introed it whilst we were down on the allotment. I'm just going to sort of talk about a few things now while that hopefully ticks over in the background. So, what have we got going on in January? Well, not a lot, depending on where you are with regards to your prep work and things like that, and also depending a lot on the facilities that you've got. So as I discussed in my video, my Brussels sprouts were coming out. That's the bed where my Broadbeans are going to go next season. Now obviously the bed wasn't ready, so I had to that had to be sorted, that had to be got ready. So as soon as the sprouts came out, I actually envisaged this job taking a lot longer than it did. It took all of about 5-10 minutes. So all I did was the sprouts came out. Now this bed is one that was filled with homemade compost from my compost heap, so it's been very rich for about 2 years now. It's all broken down now because a lot of it was chicken manure. So you see the little claw tillery thing that I use goes through it an absolute treat. So we get it weeded out, we get it all tilled, we get it all broken down. It's looking beautiful, it's looking lovely. And then we move on then to dumping some alpaca manure on there, which also then I just sort of stir in a little bit with the chlory thing. I'm going to have to call it a chlory thing. I don't know what its proper name is. And then we, yeah, so just as I'm about to go onto it, the alpaca manure appears on screen. So we get the alpaca manure. I use alpaca manure now at this point, at this stage in the game, I wouldn't advise using horse manure or anything like that. That's going to be too rich. It needs to be something that's broken down. Alpaca manure is great, it doesn't need to break down. You could actually, if you wanted, if you could put up with the smell, fill tubs with that and plant directly in it. It doesn't have a scorching issue with regards to it decomposing or breaking down too hot and the nitrogen being too rich. But as you can see, I mean, I'm not putting a heavy mulch of it on anyway. So if you were to do this yourself, you didn't have alpaca manure, you could use compost. You could use well-rotted horse manure, ideally over a season old, so over 12 months old is where you want it to be. Things like that. You could throw in leaf mould. If you were no-dig, this would be an ideal time. You'd layer it with cardboard, you'll throw your alpaca manure, your compost on, and then you just leave it. This isn't as of yet a no-dig bed. It is getting that way. I'm probably going to convert it at the end of next season. So we've stirred in all the alpaca manure, and then we're just basically going to cover it back over, and we're just going to leave it. Now, coming up later in the video, we do have me planting my broadbean seeds at home. But this bed, it's 8 foot by 4 foot for my broadbeans, which I'm planting. That'll give me space for about 20, I think I've worked out to be about 24, 26 plants, with 1 foot between plants, 2 foot between rows. So essentially it'll give me 3 rows of 8 foot of 8 plants. So what's that? That's 24 plants. I've planted 36 at home. There'll be some to give away. There's some family that wants some as well. So we got all this bed ready. We got it covered back over. You see Charlotte in the background there. She was a grand help that day, lifting these frames as they're getting a bit old now. They're starting to degrade, getting a bit. I could do with reinforcing them a bit, really, putting some proper brackets or strapping on them. But then, as that happened so quickly, what I decided to do, you can see on the side of the screen there. I was going to edit this out, but I thought that's only 2 seconds. We give the strawberry bed a weed now. If you go back over my previous videos, you'll see us getting this bed ready, or you see me getting this bed ready. Once again, I said in that video, couldn't have done it without Charlotte. She was a massive help in getting this bed ready. She weeded it all out, she prepped all the plants, and then all I had to do was take the plants out, trim them up, replant the newer ones from the runners, and away we go. This bed really, I mean, I'm surprised it's not been touched since September time, whenever that video was released. I think it was September time. So we're now back end of December, and you can see there's very little in the way of weed growth in there, and what is in there is very shallow. So I decided not to mulch this bed too much. I was going to mulch it with some straw, but decided against it in the end, purely and simply because the weeds aren't a problem. What I do at the end is I throw some more alpaca manure down on top of this after we've weeded it. Not a lot, just a little to give it a bit of a feed. It'll break down into the soil over winter, and it'll be there for when the strawberries and pineberries want it in the new year. So, moving on from what I'm actually doing on screen, and it's sort of what can you be doing for your allotment or for your garden, or what can you be doing to scratch that planter's itch now? As I said, it depends entirely on what equipment you've got. Myself, I've a little grow tent at home. If you join us on Facebook, you'll see I've put some videos of that up, and in fact I think last week's chili video is also already now on YouTube, so you'll be able to see my grow tent. And in there I've got my super hot chilies. Now your super hot chilies need a really long season, so they go in. Normally I actually plant them on Boxing Day, but I decided to have a bit of an experiment this year and started some. I think it was the first week. It was the first week in December. It was the 4th of December, and then I'm going to do another sowing, probably mid-Jan, just to see what sort of different results I get. I'm interested to see, and I like to experiment with things like this. So we're going to give that a try. But at home I've got my chilies in, as well as my onions from seed for the next season. They were also started beginning of December, but now is not a bad time to be doing that. That's something that you can be doing at home if you've got, because it's not the heat thing that's a problem, it's light levels here in the UK at this time of year. There isn't enough light for these things to produce healthy plants. They will germinate, they will grow, but they will become what's called leggy, which means that the initial stem will be too long. Now obviously with onions you can't plant them up. Chilies you can, so you can plant them right the way up. When you're potting them on, you can pot them right the way up to the seed leaves, and they'll be quite happy to do that. There's a few other things like tomatoes and things like that you can do that with, but we'll talk about that more in spring. So at home, you can be doing a few seeds, especially if you've got some grow lights. Now I just use £20 grow lights in a 10. I think my entire setup costs somewhere in the region of about £60. I'll try and remember to get links in the description below with regards to my grow tent. The other things that we've already kind of touched upon in previous videos is winter washing and grease banding. You can be doing that now. If your ground isn't too wet, you can still be digging. If your ground is wet, do not dig. You run the risk of damaging soil infrastructure, so some people might breathe a bit of a sigh of relief there. Also, as you can see in the video, it is a little bit late, but they are on offer now, so you know, it pays your money, it takes your chance. I'm planting a plum tree. It's another thing you can do this time of year. It is a little bit late, but if you're careful you can get away with it. Now this was a potted root tree, so I dug the hole, we lined it with some alpaca manure. The tree then goes in, bury a hole, try and maintain the soil levels as much as you can. So the alpaca manure is just below the level of the soil in my case, and then what I do is I then go and get some soil and some compost just to top it off, bed it off, make it look nice. What are other things you'd be doing in January? So as I say at the end of this video, there's the Broadbeans. If you didn't direct sow those, you can do those under glass now. So what I do, I'll germinate them at home on the windowsill, then they'll go out into the greenhouse. But aside from that folks, for us allotmenters in January, there's not a great deal of anything else you can do. So I'm just quickly trying to wrap my brains, and I really don't think there is, unless you've got, like I said, the lighting, the heating and things like that at home. Take it steady, make your plans, and enjoy Christmas folks. At the end of the day, hopefully you've had parsnips and sprouts and things, and maybe some Christmas potatoes. Mine are unfortunately lost to blight, but hopefully you didn't. Hopefully you can have a nice Christmas and enjoy. The growing season will soon be upon us, and then it's all hands on deck. So until next time folks, I'll see you later, and I'll hand over to the handsome guy at home. Bye bye for now. Right YouTube, welcome back. We're back at home now. So all I'm doing today, or as a follow-up to what we were talking about earlier, is I'm going to be planting my Broadbeans. Little bit early, I will admit, a little bit early, but I wanted to get them in. I wanted to sort of scratch that itch of planting seeds. I wanted to see you guys, I wanted to show you guys that I wasn't, especially to you new subscribers, that I wasn't just a guy that sits at home and preaches in his computer chair, because obviously with my back being bad, we've not done any planting for a while, and obviously also with my intentions to shut down the plot early, so you guys that join me in summer know that my allotment has been shut down. I've shut my allotment down early so that I could get the soil nicely fed for next year, because I discovered last year that the soil quality on my allotment was not great. It needed some recovery, so it's all getting fed through winter. It's all getting sort of recuperated and fed, and
which is why I've no winter crops. But that's going to change next season. So anyway, without further ado, I'll just quickly run you through what I'm doing here. Now yes, these are going in early. Normally these would be a mid-January to late January sow inside. You could have planted them out in November, December time, directly in situ where they're going to grow. But with me obviously waiting on the beds and things, these are going in now. So yeah, they are an Aqua Dolce Claudia. Sorry. They are an overwintering broadbean. Not every broadbean will overwinter, so be aware of that. They're going in root trainers, which are pretty much, this is what the sort of thing they were designed for. This and brassicas, because they were the major talking point of last year with these things. But basically, you got quite a large cell with a gigantic hole in the bottom, and what that allows the plant to do, and the reason why I'm quite happy to plant these a little bit early, is because what that gigantic hole in the bottom of the cell does is it stops the plants getting root bound. It will just grow out the bottom and then air prune off as it comes into contact with the air. So they're not going to root bind in the pot, which means that they'll sit there quite happily until I'm ready to plant them out. Now, as you will have seen in the video, yes, we got the bed ready and it is good to go, but there's no rush really. These guys are going to go in this, all I've got is a potting compost mix with a good couple of scoops of vermiculite in it, nothing fancy. In fact, it was a £3 bag of verve really. So nothing fancy. Broadbeans, they have a lot of energy stored up in the bean itself for the seeds, so they don't need a nutrient-rich start. So they'll sit in there quite happily until, don't know, probably plant them out maybe February, March time. Ideally, I'd like to wait until after the threat of frost has passed. But provided they're hardened off properly, they should be okay. So what I'll do with these guys is I'll plant them up in these seed trainers. They'll go on the windowsill in the house until they've germinated, and then they'll probably go and just sit in the greenhouse, and what that'll do is it'll make them grow slowly. They'll harden off quite nicely. They will be safe from frost, and then if I decide to plant them out February, March time, I'll just put some fleece over the top to keep the worst of the frost off them. So let's get on with this. So my trusty, one of the best purchases I've made, my potting trug or tray or whatever you want to call it. Just keeps things a lot tidier if, like me, you don't have a potting bench in your greenhouse or shed or outside in any way, shape or form. So these take a deceptively large amount of compost, which is why I had to go buy a dedicated bag for them. They're deceptive. They'll take pretty much half of a 20 litre compost bag. And plus you don't want it that loose in this, you want it quite tight, so we'll make sure it's all nicely packed. I do have lids for these, but they're not really going to need it. So look, all that compost and they're just barely half full. I'll go around and give them all a poke. It's like being back in high school with the 2 feet. Let's not go there. But hopefully what you'll have seen in the first half of this video is the bed prep, and then my intention is to kind of voice over that, because all we did was we dug the bed over, we weeded the bed, we put some a couple of 3 bags of alpaca manure on it, and then we'll leave it then. Left it open to the elements. I didn't put the sides of the netting back on. Let the chickens get on there, let the birds get on there. things like that. As far as I'm aware, Broadbeans will quite happily follow the brassica that were in there. When these go out, they will be planted up with some fish blood and bone and a few other things like that. Right, that's more than firm enough. I'm not going to worry about firming those in any more than that. The only criticism I've got about these root trainers, if they're going inside like these are on a windowsill, they tend to be messy. Ideally you want a gravel tray to sit them in, which I should have one somewhere, so I'm going to have a look at that. But also if you sit them in a gravel tray, what you can do actually if you've got the cover, is you can just sit them in the cover and they'll bottom water quite effectively as well, so that's to bear in mind. This tray will actually take this entire packet, so let's get them thrown in, let's get them sewn. There's nothing fancy when it comes to these guys. You get your broad bean. Now you can soak these ahead of time if you really want to. Doesn't really matter which way up you put them. Here it says double your rows, things like that, which I'm not going to do. I'm just going to do one in each, and serving suggestions, wow. So I'm going to put the butt crease, you see there's a butt crease, or I call it butt crease, and I'm going to sit them upright and I'm going to push them about 2 inches deep. What that will also encourage them to do is it will encourage them to, it will make them develop more roots before they break surface of the soil. So I'm going to go around this entire tray. I'm going to put them all about I say 2 inches, about 2. If you've got the bean held sort of lengthways like that, I'm going to go about 2 lengths in total. So you've got sort of, if you imagine the soil levels here, so you've got that length of the bean, and then again the length of the bean, and that second length of the bean is where the bean's going to sit in the soil. So we'll get these in. See, it won't, this packet won't fill this tray. There's meant to be 30 beans in here, so, and these root trainers hold 38 cells, so they actually hold quite a lot. Keep your eye out for these root trainers. They're normally quite expensive. I picked these ones up last January in Amazon's January sale. Here we'll go with Amazon again. For I think £3 each. They were cheap anyway in the sale, so keep your eye out for them. Pick them up if you see them cheap. They are worth it. They're really good for beans. They're really good for sweet corn. I did in them last year. That was really good. And they're really, really good for your brassica, because your brassica obviously they're like deep roots. So yes, going back to what we were talking about, the voiceover. My intention was to voice over the first half of this video with jobs for January, really. I never really wanted to do sort of jobs for this month videos, but you know, I'm all about getting you guys prepped and keeping you apprised of up and coming situations as best I can. So hopefully, like I say, in the first half of this video we will have been discussing what you can be doing now, or let's say after Christmas, to make life a little easier for the start of the growing season. So sort of things like planting your broad beans is a big help. If you didn't plant them direct like a lot of people do. That personally would have been my preference, but like I say, as I keep saying, I had to retire my plot early in order to feed the soils, so we're not going to, there's only meant to be 30 seeds in here. This seed tray is all 36 and I've only got 4 spaces left, and I think I've got 3 beans left, so I've got more than I should. You tend to find that actually in seed packets, because they're done, obviously, especially the big manufacturers. They're done by weight, and obviously not all beans weigh the same, not all seeds weigh the same, so you tend to find you get more or less for your money. In the grand scheme of things, it all evens out anyway. So I'll cover these guys up, I'll do a label for them, and like I said, they're going to go on the windowsill, hopefully in a gravel tray if I can find one, and until they germinate, and then they'll go out into the greenhouse once about 90% of them are up. Broadbeans take a roughly between, depending on temperature, obviously water, things like that, and how old the seed is, they take about 10 to 14 days to germinate. So if after about 2 weeks you're still seeing nothing, have a look. It's kind of another good thing about these root trainers. You can sort of crack the side of them, crack one of the books out. I'll show you here. And you know, if that was planted up and you didn't know what was going on, you can take it out of the box, crack it open, you'll be able to see if there's any root development. So that's it for now. Sasha wants to come in again. So until next time, I'll see you later.